catching up. Some of us returned on, what day was it? Friday from Tassajara and the Wildland Firefighter Retreat. I was just thinking, the Zen Center asked me to write a blog about it, and maybe we wouldn't normally send a newsletter out until the middle of the month, but we're gonna send out a notice about the next January sitting in the January 19th sitting. And maybe I'll just take it on there. It's always amazing to go to Tassajara. It's always amazing to get to work with the wildland firefighters. It's an annual retreat. And there was something quite extraordinary, I think, but I think everybody experienced this year. Maybe it's because when things get bad, things get good. Maybe it's, it's like light and dark and, but this year there were firefighters, there were volunteers, there were volunteer firefighters who came down from other years to help. There were volunteers from the Sangha Dharma Heart Zen who came down. There were maybe 13 more residents in the valley who stayed over during interim than ever before, and staff, and there was some way that we all came together. That there's a saying in Zen about blending like milk and water. Is we just kind of wove in and out of each other in a harmony that I think we all need to remember and know the truth of what's possible and who we are as human beings when we set our hearts on it. One of the residents or one of the volunteers down there said she'd been coming to Tassajara for 25 years. And she had never been so moved. We had a meeting at the end with everybody in the same room, and there was just no separation. And this is the Sandokai that we're heading towards. There are firefighters and there are people in the kitchen and there are residents. I mean, there's differences and everybody. And there was equality. And I'll just say briefly that part of the extraordinary thing is the firefighters volunteer to do work practice as a way to give back. The Zen Center just offers this week, we all offer it. And they were tasked with carrying Mel Weissman Sojin's, the past abbot of Berkeley Zen Center's memorial stone up this steep, if you've been to Tassajara, up that steep narrow trail all the way to the Suzuki Roshi Memorial Site and to set it in place. And it was amazing to, I participated by following along behind in awe, but Sue was part of it, Tyler was part of it, and to just watch these firefighters from all over the country who had never worked before, because I think of the depth of what we've been doing in the retreat hall. Work together as one, carrying this huge. How much did it weigh?
The estimate was between 500 and 700.
No, between 500 and 700 pounds. Wow, I'm so glad I asked. It was amazing. So I'm in awe, and don't despair. The world is crazy, and it's also we human beings are amazing. We'll figure it out. 500, 700 pounds. Okay, so and while we were away, Carol Wolter, Linda Davis's partner, died on January 2nd.
At 5:21 in the afternoon.
And there will be a memorial this Saturday at 11 o'clock.
And there's some little square pieces of paper in front of the Donna box there with the address and the time. So if you want to come, it's going to be here in Sebastopol at the Workmen's Hall on 465 Morris Street. And the information's all on there, so take one if you want. Thank you.
And yesterday, I think it was Mary Ann experienced in our Sangha, experienced heart difficulties and went to the ER. They kept her for the night and they're gonna take her down in an ambulance tomorrow to San Francisco Kaiser for tests and
For a heart cath,
for a heart cath.
just check her cardiac vessels.
So we will do well-being and safe passage, chanting the end. And I'm sure there's 100 million things that all of you experience too. And where is it? It was so real when it happened. Where is it now? What is it? So we're gonna be investigating the Sandokai, the harmony of difference and equality, which is the core Zen text. Over these next few weeks, we're gonna wander through it. I thought maybe as a way to enter it, it's the chant and the book which is Suzuki Roshi's commentary on the Sandokai, which we'll get to in a minute. It's on the website, I think, and in the newsletter. But I wanted to read you, because people wanted to know, the firefighters and many of the people in the valley didn't know Mel Weissman, which. So he has a fairly recent book out called To See One Thing All the Way Through. But some time ago, this was put together, Umbrella Man. When you turn 80, apparently in Japan, they call you Umbrella Man if you're lucky, because it's a compilation of all of his students who he has transmitted and worked with and who loved him. And I just want, because this leads us into the Sandokai. Phrase Mel would often use was the other side, by which he meant something like things are done or meant this way, but there is also and always the other way, the other side. You should do things slowly. But the other side is that sometimes you do them quickly. Don't get attached. Such and so is the case, but the other side is that it is not the case. I am pretty sure Norman Fisher's writing this. Mel got this from Suzuki Roshi. And it seems very similar to me to Suzuki Roshi's Not Always So. Maybe Suzuki Roshi also said the other side. So that's, I wanted to do the Sandokai during this time, where I think many people are asking, well, I was on this side and they're on that side, and how are we gonna do this? And I think this practice, this swinging gate practice, this profound and very ordinary teaching will help us in our everyday lives, will help us with our hearts and minds, and will, because we are all deeply interconnected with each other and with everything, will help the people around us and will help the world, because I think that's what bodhisattvas do, and this is our job. So you may find other things that you want or need to do to help the world, but I'm absolutely certain that practicing and the guidance of this teaching will help. Okay, so now we're gonna go to Branching Streams, Flow in the Darkness, Zen Talks on the Sandokai by Suzuki Roshi. I'm gonna read just a little bits here. During the summer of 1970, when these talks were given at Tassajara, The students were attending services and zazen several times a day, preparing meals and working on the many tasks of building and maintenance, not unlike what we've been doing this past week. During the day, Suzuki Roshi, small and seemingly frail, was busy putting large stones in place on the side of the creek to prevent erosion. There we are, back to stones again. At night, he lectured. Those of us who were fortunate enough to work with him were always amazed at his energy and ability, even when he was old and not well. He worked all day in the 100-degree+ heat. His tremendous spirit was communicated through his work. We might spend all day putting a large stone in place, and if it wasn't right, he would take it out and start all over the next day. Although there was not much to be done, he was never in a hurry. He was centered both in balance and in time. He always gave me the feeling, this is Mel Weissman talking in the introduction, that he was completely within the activity of the moment. He would take the time to do everything thoroughly. And then he goes on to say, essentially, Suzuki Roshi's message, the essence of it, is how to let go of self-centeredness and settle ourselves in Daishin, which is big mind or big self. How to practice Zazen in a formal way, and how to extend our practice in the informality of our daily lives. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, a book that we all know, Suzuki Roshi, in the title, refers to the unassuming attitude of just being present in each moment, accepting the non-dual reality of each moment with openness and clarity, being careful not to fall into partiality based on opinions and false views, and being open to all possibilities. I've said before, and I'll mention again, that because Suzuki Roshi came to this country in the aftermath of World War II, he saw a country torn apart and kind of go crazy because of certain views, and then try to find their way back again. He was really passionate about don't get stuck in opinions and false views. Mel goes on to say that these talks, which are the transcribing of the Sandokai talks, are a little different than Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, because he was lecturing on a specific text. So we'll get to know Suzuki Roshi in a different way. He made up different words because he was half Japanese. He was coming to America, so we'll get to know some of the ways that he played with language. And Suzuki Roshi died on December 4th, 1971 of cancer, a year and a half after delivering this teaching on the Sandokai. He was 67 years old. I think he'd only been in this country like 7 years or something. I mean, it's amazing what he did in 7 years. He must have had a premonition of his coming death when he said that Zen teachers in the Soto tradition often lecture on the Sandokai towards the end of their lives. Not anyway. I'm just having fun. Okay, so the harmony of difference and equality. Depending on everything depends on your perspective of where you stand. Think about how profound that is. Yeah. I mean, I am so sure of my reality over here, and you're sitting right over there. And you have a completely different perspective of just this room. And we're always putting it together in one way or another. And until quite recently, probably really sure that everybody was agreeing with us, and shocked to find out that people have different perspectives. We better remain curious. And we stand still in the midst of our ideas and concepts, this and that, because everything is flowing in and out of everything else. One of Mel's favorite phrases was, as I understand it, what is it? Just moment after moment. What is it? You think you know what it is? What is it? Look again and again and again, forever, with a great sense of open generosity. So I thought what we would do now, and I think Gretchen's gonna put it up on the screen, and some of us have our chant books. And with a little luck, we're all gonna have the same translation. It's on page 8 in the chant book here in the room. Let's just chant this together. And it's a poem. So read it like a poem. Enter it with your body. Enter the sound, the flow of the words. Don't necessarily, we'll go over it phrase by phrase in the coming weeks, but for right now, let's just enter it as sound and felt sense. Harmony of difference and equality. The mind of the great sage of India is intimately transmitted from west to east. While human faculties are sharp or dull, the way has no northern or southern ancestors. The spiritual source shines clear in the light. The branching streams flow on in the dark. Grasping at things is surely delusion, according with sameness is still not enlightenment. All the objects of the senses interact and yet do not. Interacting brings involvement, otherwise each keeps its place. Sights vary in quality and form, sounds differ as pleasing or harsh, refined and common speech come together in the dark. Clear and murky phrases are distinguished in the light. The four elements return to their natures, just as a child turns to its mother. Fire heats, wind moves, water wets, earth is solid, eyes and sights, ear and sound, nose and smells, tongue and taste. Thus with each and everything, depending on these roots, the leaves spread forth. Trunk and branches share the essence, revered and common, each has its speech. In the light there is darkness, but do not take it as darkness. In the dark there is light, but do not see it as light. Light and dark oppose one another like the front and back foot in walking. Each of the myriad things has its merit expressed according to its function and place. Phenomena exist, box and lid fit, principle responds, arrow points meet. Hearing the words, understand the meaning. Do not set up standards on your own. If you do not understand the way right before you, how will you know the path as you walk? Progress is not a matter of far or near. But if you are confused, mountains and rivers block your way. I respectfully urge you who study the mystery, do not pass your days and nights in vain. Some beautiful images in here. You can just, if any of them just stick or come forward, just, take them with you. We'll unpack them as we go, but you can also just write them down, put them on your refrigerator, you can chant them, you can live them, we will together. So I want to say a little bit and help us enter in today. And I want you to have some time to talk together too. So let me give you a little brief history of the Sandokai, the harmony of difference and equality. We don't talk a lot about lineage here. I mean, if you were at San Francisco Zen Center, they chant the lineage of what until quite recently was the male lineage. And the lineage of the female ancestors and all of it, ancestors matter. I think it's wonderful that African American teachers are now more and more coming forward with ancestors. We all have ancestors. The ancestors in this tradition is we do stand on their shoulders. So let me say a little bit about it. Sekito Kisen was the author, and he was born in southern China in the beginning of the 8th century, 700 to 800. Fairly early in the formation of Zen or Chan in China. You don't have to remember any of this, and I don't either, that's why I don't do it very much, but I can chant all the names, and I am deeply grateful. So Sekito Kisen was a seminal figure because he was at the beginning of the branch that flowed from the 6th ancestor. In Zen, the 6th ancestor is really important. And in fact, the 6th ancestor, Wei Neng, 638 to 713, this is all just to let you know. We think it's all happening now. It's been happening forever. They're helping us and we're helping them, and hopefully we're helping those who come after. And anyway, Wei Neng wrote the Platform Sutra, which is another seminal Zen text, which I've been avoiding for years, and I thought maybe I should stop avoiding it, and we'll come to that and do that someday too. So anyway. Sekito was important because he set the tone of the branching of Soto Zen and Rinzai Zen. People that means something. They're two different schools of Zen, and it's kind of sweet. I have to admit a certain preference for Soto Zen, given that's where I am. And I think it's called like older brothers or the older siblings or the slow school. And Rinzai, it more has a sense of like, oh God, it's in here. I think it's the younger brother. There's more of a sense of energy and pushing. That never worked for me. I love this slow, more gentle school. If in traditional temples, the Sandokai is chanted in every day in Soto Zen temples throughout the world, and almost always in memorial services for the founder of the temple. You'll notice at the beginning of the text when we get to it, it begins by saying the way has no northern or southern ancestor, which is Soto and Rinzai. You could say the way has different flavors, but if you get caught up in one or the other, right and left, good and bad, right and wrong, one might say Republicans and Democrats, you're probably not going to be able to stand in some center ground and have a big view. We both need a particular view and a big view, big ground. Okay, so Sandokai. In the book, Suzuki Roshi's first talk, he calls things as it is. Things as it is. That's Suzuki Roshi making up. Not things as they are. Everybody said, did he really mean that? Did he know what he was saying? Things as it is. And nobody really knows, but I think there's something very beautiful about the language that he was able to play in, because he wasn't so well versed in English, and he was learning, and he was responding to what was in the room, which was a whole bunch of eager young hippies in the 1970s who were just trying to figure out how to live and be alive in a difficult time. The Sandokai has 22 couplets, 44 lines, follows patterns of discontinuity, then continuity, and finally complementary. So the sutra itself embodies what it's teaching, which is. We aren't gonna be academic about this every time, but I wanna set the ground here. The interpenetration or the merging of sameness and difference. With one, there is everyday life. Did you notice? It includes the material world and feelings and emotions and problems and difficulties and sorrows and joys. I.e., what we think is what's going on, and with a very solid sense of me in the middle of it. Me, our self-centered view of the world. And there is a world of profound truth and oneness and isness that just is. That isn't behind or under or over. It just, we have tastes. I think when we sit zazen, zazen is such a perfect embodiment of that the two aren't different. We can sit completely upright in zazen. Here I am. I'm breathing in and out. My left knee hurts. I'm sad. I really wish this would end, whatever the million thoughts are, feelings are. Processing, we're not trying to stop any of that, but when we sit in the middle of it and it settles, we do have tastes and experiences of just a swinging gate. It is what we think it is, and it's not what we think it is. And it's just a line, and it's all moving, and it's all changing and interpenetrating. So here's a great quote. Not sure where I got this, maybe from the book, maybe from Norman Fisher. Therefore, everybody, no matter how confused or lost, is practicing. Just when we were coming in today, there was someone sitting outside who said he was an ex-Marine. I'm guessing he's probably of the generation that Iraq, Afghanistan, that's that I've worked with. And he was clearly just distraught. And was shouting and saying angry things about God. But he also, when I went up to him, well, what I had to decide was I gonna go towards this person. And I did. He just said, it's not my fault. And he had tears in his eyes. He was just trying to figure out where he was gonna sleep, and trying to figure out his life. And you know what? He's practicing. Everybody's practicing. So the ordinary and the sacred are not separate, and they can be distinguished. That was one particular person who was also a window into a lot of other suffering. So maybe I'll do more of this on Thursday. But Sandokai, the name, the word, the title. San is things. All myriad and differentiated things of the world. It's the world of our experience. And the world that no matter what we do will cause us to suffer. Because we want what we want, and we don't want what we don't want, and we all have a million opinions and conditionings, and it'll bring great joy or or happiness, but the world is not, as we all well know, and then we forget, is not gonna cooperate with us, right? And then we're gonna try to make it do what we want, and it won't, and maybe sometimes it will, and then we'll wanna hang on to that. Anyway, that's just what we do. And San Do, is oneness. That big, deep sense of the words never non-dual, interconnected, oneness, isness. It's a felt sense. In the world of Do, there's no interaction, no perception, no world, no objects. Senses and objects can't be distinguished from each other. Sights and sounds are co-created. It exists as one. Everything's just moving, changing, ephemeral, ungraspable. So when there's objects and senses, me over here and out there, there's a sense of a person who sees and hears. When it's not distinguished, there's no person. It's just seeing, hearing, moving. No eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell. That's the Heart Sutra. That's the same thing. I have no idea what they're talking about. Do you have any? And I think we all do. All of reality is just appearing in each moment. Our mind is as big as everything and includes everything. There is nothing that is outside of this. So Suzuki Roshi says, so our understanding is that there is one whole being that includes everything, and that the many things are found in one whole being. If you say it is many, it is many. And if you say it is one, it is one. Many and one are different things from describing one whole being. And the beautiful thing, Sandokai, I love this, means to shake hands. Suzuki Roshi calls it warm hand to warm hand. It's also what a bow is. You just bow. It's just sameness, difference. Just bow, just bow, just bow, moment after moment after moment. Suzuki Roshi says it's like shaking hands when we say Kai. It's like to each thing, how are you? Just, hi, how are you? And in that sense, when we can have a taste of that, everything is okay. Even if it's difficult, it's okay. We just bow. And then we figure out, we respond to the next moment. Doesn't mean everything's okay and so go to sleep. Doesn't mean everything's okay and so don't try to do something or to help. It's a place of where you really can help because you're not tossed around in the storm of likes and dislikes. So let me just want to read one more Suzuki Roshi quote, then I'll send you off to talk about anything this may mean to you. He says, just to be yourself is our practice. When you can do that, you will be able to speak without thinking too much and without having any special purpose. When you speak or act, it will be to just express yourself. This is complete self-respect. You must be strict with yourself and your tendencies. We each have our own unique tendencies. I mean, you do. We're all conditioned. I have my habits and my habit patterns. I am so humbled by how habitual they are. So you study them, you know them, that's all. You want to wake up. I would really like, and I do. I'm not as profoundly, except sometimes, attached to my habit patterns and likes and dislikes. I mostly just don't want to harm people, and neither does anybody in this room. That's why we do this. We each have our own unique tendencies, but if you do not try to get rid of them or try not to think, it's not possible. Here's a great one. Let your ears hear without trying to hear. Let your ears hear without trying to hear. You feel it? Let the mind think without trying to think and without trying to stop it. This is practice. Just here, just this. Open, porous, present, swinging gait, alive. More and more you will have rhythm or strength and the power of practice. And if you practice hard, you're gonna turn into a badass. No, sorry. If you practice hard, you will be like a child. You will be like a child. Completely willing to be ourselves and to share our lives and practice with each other and the whole world. So it's something special and it's nothing special at all. Okay. So how about if you just turn to somebody next to you? Got 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less. You can talk about any of this, but how is practice, if you practice hard, you will be like a child.
Hmm.
So,